and some other things that characterize the life of Muhammadu Buhari. So briefly, let's go into a background. Former President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, died yesterday, July 13th, 2025, in London Clinic, as reported. He lived for 82 years and leaves behind a legacy etched in the annals of Nigerian history, which we cannot just but keep emphasizing. In 1990s, in the late 1990s and early 20s, Buhari began to redefine himself as a Democrat. He contested for the presidency in 2020, in 2003, 2007, and 2011, losing each time. But despite this defeat, he maintained a loyal political following, followers, particularly in the northern region, which we're going to be emphasizing on the show this morning. And in 2015, at the age of 72 years, Muhammadu Buhari made history by becoming the first opposition candidate in Nigeria to defeat a sitting president. Bring out from his life and time of the former president. However, there have been reactions. The president has summoned an emergency FEC meeting, and there are tributes that have been going on all across the places. National Assembly has suspended legislative activities for 1 week. Presidential team have arrived London to repatriate Buhari's remains. Then there's a reaction coming from some persons who work with him during his time as the president, who have also said that they feel sick for his demise. Coming from Olusegun Obasanjo has reacted, Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, First Lady of Nigeria, Katsina State Governor, Ekiti State Governor, Ondo State Governor, Kogi State Governor, and Kwankwaso, the Kwankwasia movement, the Northern Governors Forum, Chris Ngige, Adeshino Adebayo, the former president of the African Development Bank, ACF, Arewa. So many persons have all thrown their tribute to the former president, including Peter Obi, and is expected to, according to reports, Nigerian leaders are expected to gather in Daura today for the burial of the former president of Nigeria. But then, Buhari's life and time, what does Nigeria seems to, benefit, or how impactful was Buhari's regime to the life of Nigerians? That's the question many are asking. Why many believe that the Buhari regime was characterized with corruption and some insecurity vices, even though the mandate of their government is to fight against them. Many have also argued that the Buhari government is people-centered and, with the interest of human capital development at heart, and some other things like that's been said. However, we'll be getting more perspective to the conversation this morning when we now connect with a public affairs analyst to help us have an understanding of what the Buhari regime would look like politically, in terms of personal lifestyles, his influence, and the politics of Nigeria. What becomes of the APC? What becomes of the CPC bloc? What becomes of the structure he has in the northern part of the country? What next for Nigerians now politically, now that a big figure in the political space is no more? After this break, we'll bring up that conversation. Do join us again.
It is another refreshing time and the outpouring power of God as Christ Apostolic Church, Grace of Mercy Prayer Mountain, Adamimogo, Jesus City, presents Sure Mercy of David, a yearly fasting and prayer program where God is set to heal the sick, deliver the poor, set the captives free, and save the lost. Sure Mercy of David comes up in the month of August, every Friday to Sunday, each week in the month of August 2025, as God will be using his anointed servant, Prophet Sam Olualo Baba Adamimogo, and many other great anointed men of God. Many spiritual singers will be ministering in song as well. Venue CAC Grace of Mercy Prayer Mountain, Adamimogo, Jesus City, Elamija Village, Lekki Epe Expressway, Lagos State. For one-on-one counseling with Prophet Sam Olualo, register at JesusCityRadio.com. Show mercy of David. Don't miss it.
If you just joined us, the follow-up on Adamimogo 107.7 FM, Ido Ekiti, is what you are listening to at this time. Let me remind you that we're live streaming on Facebook. You can be part of the conversation. I want to believe that every Nigerian have one or two things to say about the late President Muhammadu Buhari, which we're going to be examining his lifetime and some of the things that, Nigeria is influence in Nigeria political landscape and in some other areas this morning. So joining us to have the conversation is a public affairs analyst. He joins us virtually from Lagos, Mr. Olalere. Good morning and welcome to the follow-up.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you doing too?
I'm okay. At least we are surviving Nigeria.
Definitely. We do not have a choice. Everybody just needs to survive. All right. So, about 6 p.m. yesterday, the news broke at the demise of former President Muhammadu Buhari. And what I was able to notice is the mixed reactions that trailed the announcement. Some persons don't even know how to react to it. Some persons feel a bit happy. Some feel a bit sad. Some are just in between. So which of this, or how did the news come to you?
Well, it came to me just like any other Nigerian. And as a public affairs analyst, I think more on the side of the people, because we have a lot of issues. That's why it came as a mixed reactions. Number one, thank God for a London hospital that our president can go to. If the United Kingdom, if UK have not built a good hospital, I wonder where our president would have run to. And so it is kind of funny that our president, I'm praying that one day the president of America will come and die in one hospital in Ekiti State or in Lagos State or in Oyo State. That's my first take. And the second take is that Buhari represents a lot of different versions and different perspectives. Number one, I was speaking with a radio station those days in Aki, where there was war against indiscipline. That man, Buhari, was a fantastic person. But the one that later became the president of Nigeria, in some quarter, happened to be the greatest mistake Nigeria ever made, because I also read on social media a lot of things, and somebody said, is it not the same president whose boys now own major landmarks in Abuja, whose boys are multi-millionaire today, owing to ineptitude and lack of awareness of what was actually happening under his governance? Is it not the same Buhari that now has turned to hero when he dies? But that's what Yoruba call that that we may not be appreciated, or people may not want to say a bad thing about the death. I mean, those are the things that. So I am of a mixed feeling, like an average Nigerian.
Well, fair enough, but how would you say, or what would you say to his regime? Because since yesterday, there are those who have worked with him and have said some positive things about him. He's kind, he's milk, he's down to earth. He has the people's heart, the people's well-being is his mantra, and all of that, things like that. And there are other issues that characterize it. Probably they are speaking because they are a bit closer to him. But you are in between, especially closer to the people, how would you describe the Buhari's regime?
The Buhari's regime, like I said, is probably one of the mistakes Nigeria ever made. Those who backed him up and those who voted him, although he was brought into power with the mentality of the 80s, when he restored a hope of an average Nigeria, well, then corruption was a thing nobody would dare. Let me give an example. And the people that actually actually bought Nigeria Electric Power Authority when it was PACN, and before all of that, like that, when transmitted to whatever it is today, is actually an Ekiti man. He said when Buhari became president, he said they became courteous. Everybody was like watching. They thought it was the man they knew in the 80s that came back. But he said 6 months into his government, when they found out that, no, this man is just now a toothless bulldog that will do nothing. So he said, well, they now readjusted to the system. And as the time was speaking with me, he said anybody who dares to check them or checkmate them will lose his or life and all of that. So the Buhari that we thought we voted into power was actually, I didn't vote him anyway, the Buhari people thought they voted into power was actually different. No, I think I did. It was against Goodluck Jonathan. I did. So the Buhari we thought we voted into power was actually different from the Buhari that actually mounted the saddle of responsibility. So even though he may be a person that may not be that corrupt, because Buhari is a local person, coupled with his religion, that believes that you bring nothing to this world and you're taking nothing away, that believes you can die any moment, there's no reason amassing wealth against tomorrow and all of that, that tomorrow will take care of himself. Yeah, as a person. But the people that were around him, he was so much unaware of them that they became, unbecoming. So if this kind of people are telling Buhari was good, Buhari was kind, Buhari was this and that, they were talking based on their selfishness. I said something when this wonderful president was aspiring, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I said, that's longer Emilokan. That word, Mabu word, I said it means a lot of things. Because the people around Tinubu, they saw how people brazenly rob and make Nigeria. Then under Buhari, how corruption, the Buhari government is the most corrupt government in the history of Nigeria. Check the Minister of Humanitarian and all of that woman. Check Syriac, whatever the mind. Check all of these. He happened under him. Even the Jonathan government was not as worse as what we had under Buhari, though it started from Jonathan government with the Ziani and the likes of them, and the monkey that was swallowing money and all of that. So they saw that you can actually become anything under a Buhari government. So when our dear president, Tinubu was coming in, those guys also felt our local to make Nigeria dry. And somehow I think it's the same thing along the line.
Well, I was watching an interview with Garba Shehu, his former media aide, and there was a question that was thrown to him that was his perception, or he should probably refute or deny claims that his government was, the Buhari government was overtaken by this, what they call cabals now.
Yeah.
So how would you describe, you've said that he's not aware of some of the things. So does that mean that the cabal narrative that surrounds the Buhari administration, do you think that actually was in place? Did it really happen?
It did. And there's no other way we could have reasoned. I'll give an example. Even himself betrayed that it happened. When he was in Maiduguri, you remember, during the crisis and all of that, he subconsciously said, I thought I thought IG is there, or IG has been marched to this place. And he said so. He had ordered the IG relocate, Inspector General Police, relocate to Maiduguri, so that he could be there and kind of bring up a theater against those bandits and all of that. But the man did not go, and Buhari, our president, was there, and he was surprised that the man he ordered to be in that place wasn't there, and he mentioned so subconsciously, and nothing happened. You will discover that most of the kind that committed under him, there will be investigation, like the woman, the woman in humanitarian and all of that. At the end of the day, there is no sanction. And so if was not Kabah, then I don't know what we can say. For many years, it was Abba Kyari, later Abba Kyari, that was actually the de facto president. And so we all know that the man, going by his nature, the man that's not corrupt, the man that is strict, there is no way we would have believed he was aware of what was happening, and things would have gone haywire like that, and there won't be corporate, there won't be sanction, there won't be no. That shouldn't have been the Buhari that we knew in the 80s when I was growing up.
But many would say that it would not be fair if we fought Buhari. Probably he has given order and he expects that those orders should be properly executed. And, maybe some persons who, are found in this kind of activities are the ones trying to, maybe tarnish the administration's image and trying to take Buhari out of it. Because I was also watching Femi Adesina yesterday where he said Buhari is probably believes that all of these things is doing what is best and probably do not see any of these things come. So would it be fair to attribute all of these things to Buhari himself, but to focus on those persons who are at the center of it?
I will answer from two angles. Angle number one from our dear brother Femi Adesina, who says Buhari was doing the best. And then, what do you expect? I'm a Christian by the grace of God, and the Bible says you can't give what you don't have. What do you expect in a nation that says all you need, the qualification you need to become a president of the most populous nation in Nigeria, I mean, the smartest family in the whole world, according to United Rating and all of that, is a Nigerian family from Igbo side. How do you rate that kind of a country that all you need to run the country is a school cert? The certificate of which Buhari does not even know where it was. I left it to military and all of that. So if additional says he was doing his best, well, he couldn't have done beyond his capacity. But it is unfortunate that the worst of us are the one that most of the time ruling us. So I'm saying additional from that angle that maybe he couldn't have been, he doesn't have a degree, he doesn't, the kind of training he had was all about military background and all of that. So if that was the best he knew, he doesn't know macroeconomics and all of that, all of this, if that was the best he could do, I agree with him additional. But coming back to the fact that he raises an order or he issues an order and the order wasn't carried out and he never bothered and it doesn't worry him, then that's no leadership. If people can flout your order, then order is unnecessary in the first instance. If people can flout your order, the order is unnecessary in the first instance. And that's why a judge will give a judgment and ensures that the judgment is carried out. Otherwise, they will charge you for contempt of court. So, as a leader, whether HOD, whatever, even in that fantastic station that you are, when a boss issues an order, if it's not carried out, it's a slap on the face of the man that issues an order. And how do you expect result? I expect these people to measure their performance by result. And that's why I argue with a lot of friends who are sympathizers with this present government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and they say, "Oh, there are policies. He has done this in the student education loan. He has done tax reform. He has done this and that." And I told them, if he does not reflect in the life of an average Nigeria, then he has done next to nothing. That's much ado about nothing. So I believe the result. If Buhari didn't see the result of what he expected, after all, before you issue an order, after all, before you bring up a policy, after all, before you develop a program, there is an end result you are expecting. So if for 6 months, if for a year, you have not seen the result of what you are expecting, I think there's a point, there's a need to call to questioning the people you saddle with the responsibility. So if Buhari felt that security should have been built up, if Buhari felt that there should have been the killings in the northeast should have been stopped, if Buhari felt that kidnapping shouldn't be the issue, and he had order, he could the military and all of that. If after 6 months you are still having the same issue at hand, I think he should bother about whether his order was carried out or not. Right. And if he didn't, then it means he wasn't aware of what was going on.
All right, Mr. Let's throw this to you. There are those who would say that Buhari's administration towards the late part, you remember the cash crunch, the Naira redesign policy, which was quite tough on many Nigerians. Many have attributed, when you go online, those are some of the things that many people remember Buhari for lately. But many have also said, like a report I came across this morning, that was saying that it was under the Buhari administration that we experienced a minimal or some level of reduction in the Boko Haram insurgency. So, apart from the negative side, which many have, said or make attributions to, what positive thing can you say the Buhari administration was able to achieve?
Well, Buhari administration, maybe a little reduction in insurgency, at least not as bad as the time of Goodluck Jonathan. And that was one of the reasons why someone like me wouldn't really feel too comfortable to, by the time you aggregate, if your good is just like 3 or 4, and you're bad, or the thing you're supposed to do that you didn't do, it's going to like 10, 20, and all of that, the good one will go unnoticed. They will actually then appreciate it. I remember one of the great campaign that President Tinubu did for Buhari is he began to mention countries, began to mention UK, began to mention France, and he said when they had problem, they turned to their generals. He said, now, you remember that campaign. He said, now we have a problem, we are turning to our own General Muhammadu Buhari. So we expect him to bring that general thing to bear. So the extent at which he quashed the insurgents should have been more than that order a general. If he did all of that, what do we expect from Bola Tinubu? That in the balance of the military we call a bloody civilian. And so all of those ones. Then there are good policies, but that was not carried through. There were good policies under him that were not carried through. That the creation of humanitarian, Minister of Humanitarian Service and all of that was supposed to be a good one, having experienced this pandemic in 2020 and all of that. So those are good ones, but he did not follow through, and he didn't appoint the right person in the right place. And when you bring up corruption, you are going to have an issue.
All right.
Now, mixing the government together now, one of the problem or one of the challenge I also have with the present government is that you have good policy, but they were not thought through before you just bring it up.
Yeah,
so these are the issues we'll be having.
We'll talk about the current administration, but now let's go into politics now. In the northern part of the country, Buhari is a big force. He has this influence and the structure. As a matter of fact, some of those who are under the coalition movement are solely depending on the Buhari structure. And now that he's no more, what do you think becomes of that influence and structure? Is there any hope? Or probably, who is that person that would fill in Buhari's shoe in the northern part of the country?
Now, one of, as much as I can be critical of the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu in certain area, but one thing you can't take away from Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the fact that he built structures. He has structure, political structure. He developed people. Although if you don't do his bidding, the next moment he throws you up, but there will always be a replacement. There will always be like that. So I'm not sure Buhari has antecedent. I'm not sure he has a kind of follower, people that he had mentored and all of that. And if he doesn't have that, then that structure collapse. It's all about him, and now that he's no more, that to your own tent Israel. That's what political will be. Everyone will be scamping for survival in that kind of environment. And so, but it's going to scatter, and everybody will now go there and pick what they can pick. Atiku will go in and kind of have his own harvest. Kwankwaso, this Ganduje, and all of them will just go into the place and see what they can harvest out of that legacy, because actually it's going to scatter. But on record and by observation, I'm not sure.
Let me come in there. Apologies for, butting you there. There are those who would disagree with you, because you remember the 12 million votes that Buhari keeps having over the years. And at the end of the day, so Boss Mustafa was saying that it's just a little that the Tinubu camp added and gave him that presidency. And the structure, many would say he has had this structure, Buhari has had this structure for over a long period of time. And thus, when you're now saying that Tinubu has this structure, has been building this structure as the antecedent, many would want to disagree with you on that.
Now, those who want to disagree with me have to mention it. If you mention Tinubu now, whether they are still together, you will mention Femi Gbajabiamila, you will mention Dele Alake, you will mention, I'm mentioning people, even those that are not with him again. You will mention Ujudu, you will mention our dear Bamidele, you are going to mention George Akume, you are going to mention across Nigeria. In fact, today there's a problem in the north. That's why the northern populace were angry during the last riot, they were not actually angry with the president, but they were angry with their governors who are not connected with the people. And the problem was this. Prior to this advent of Tinubu, the governors in the north is either appointed, selected, directed, influenced by the emir, that's religion. So, or by that's the traditional, or by the clerics, the imams and all of that. But the present crop of governors in the north were outside, they were put there, outside their system, outside their influence, and all thanks to majorly to Tinubu because of his political ambition. So if those who want to disagree with me should mention names around Tinubu, I just mentioned a few names, both in the north.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Oh, shit.
Muhammadu Buhari, now that he's dead.
All right, we'll go for this quick break now. When we return, we continue the conversation. Do join us again. We'll be right back. So welcome back. We've been having conversations around the life and time of former president, who is late now, Muhammadu Buhari, and we've been examining his governance, his political structure, and his lifestyle. So Mr. Olalere, who is a public affairs analyst, has been helping us to have that understanding. So you were saying as to the structure and what becomes of his political structure now that he's no more. I want you to land on that. Then we now go into the current state of Nigeria at this time.
Now, I was saying, you said some would disagree with me that he has structure when I said I'm not sure he had structure, that he bequeathed anything down to his downline and all of that. And I tried to mention, juxtapose or compare him with the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I began to mention names in the east, in the west. Of course, Senator Akpabio has been a follower of Tinubu for a lot of time and all of that, and you can see what has happened now. But I ask you that those who may disagree with me, we need to mention names in the structure of Tinubu, apart from Garba Shehu, apart from these few other guys who actually is a political appointee, who does not really carry political weight in those areas. So we may need to know. But when you are talking about 12 million votes that he's been having, if you study the culture of the Northerners, there is this kind of elite, I don't know whether this word will be appropriate. There is this kind of sheepishness culture in that area. They follow a figure, not necessarily because it has downline structure. They follow a figure, and Buhari was a towering figure in the northern part. So, and don't forget that these 1 million votes, they are people. They are just the masses. Sometimes I was speaking on the radio program, and I distinguish between the crowd, political crowd, and political people. There are political party who has people, and there are political party who have a crowd. Sometimes you have crowd, you don't have people. Sometimes you have people, you don't have crowd. When you have people that juggernaut, there are strong structures and all of that, if they can control the masses, then you have them. But there are times like your people cannot control the masses. There are times the masses that will not listen to the people. So in the case of the North, one person can control as many votes as possible. Just a command, because they just love and they follow without sometimes due concentration, like the one we do down south. In the south, even your brother may refuse to follow you, may refuse to vote for you, but it's not like that in the northern part of Nigeria. So the fact that it has 12 million votes, these are underage, don't forget. I mean, it's on record that most time underage do vote there. These are people who are not too aware, I mean, educationally. So these are the 12 million people, not actually the people that are conscious of what's happening around them. But let me drop it by saying that ideally, unfortunately, the northern people, no matter how illiterate they are more political conscious than us in the southern part.
All right. Finally, before we leave the political life of Muhammadu Buhari, in the APC, many would say Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Muhammadu Buhari one of the two, or the two major figures in the APC. And now that one is out of it, many would question what the APC bloc, the CPC bloc of the APC, which many have said it is the Buhari bloc, what becomes of them. As a matter of fact, even before the demise, there have been reports of some persons aligning with the coalition movement, some person not just knowing where to belong. So what do you think will happen to that Buhari faction of the APC?
You can rule out El-Rufai of Kaduna State from the core of CPC structure, the Buhari structure in APC. Even before Buhari dies, that structure has been having a lot of issues. And then when you look at it, and thank God for political, wisdom of Bola Tinubu. I kept saying that when it comes to politics, I'm not sure Tinubu has a match in the contemporary history of Nigeria. But one thing he's bereft of is good leadership and good governance. I mean, all of that. You said we're going to get to that later. But when it comes to politics, you can see that maybe he has foreseen that, or he was ready to take Buhari head on because of the way he's been tampering with the structure in the north. The Kwankwaso thing, the dragnet trying to drag Kwankwaso into his side, the issue with trying to see if he can demystify the vice president, Shetima, and all of that. You can see the man has projected. So now, thank God he's been taking all those moves. So all of them will go there now because the ADC will want to harvest the political fortune that is now available after the demise of the man that commands all the elections there, majority of the votes there. So they have to kind of go there and see who takes what is going to be shared.
All right, let's now come to the Tinubu administration, because we're talking of the state of the nation. The Tinubu took over from the Buhari both in the APC, but many are saying that the government or the party held power during Buhari and is holding power now, and many are saying that Buhari's government is better than the Tinubu administration. As a matter of fact, the narrative out there is that Nigerians are missing the Buhari administration. What do you make of this narrative, or what would you say? How would you describe the Tinubu administration in this past 2 years that it has held power?
The Tinubu administration, number one, let me start from the Buhari, as it translates or transmits to Tinubu administration. When Buhari got there, for many months, he was kind of complaining, lamenting about how worse the nation was under Goodluck Jonathan, that he wasn't aware. So he kept saying, we didn't know Nigeria was this bad and all of that. So when Tinubu also came in, there's every tendency that he was not aware of the rot under Buhari. He wasn't aware. And he has said it time and time again. But if there was anything that is the major problem of Tinubu administration, is that they don't think through policy before they bring it out. They don't think through policy before they bring it out. And again, I sympathize with the man. He had this kind of very high ambition that I want to go down the record as the Messiah of Nigeria. So he thinks he can fix everything. Like they said, he fixed your Lagos and all of that. So he came around. So that's why he's putting a lot of things on the meal, putting a lot of things in the meal at the same time. And the grounding is becoming difficult. Number one, that shows that he doesn't, the government president, they don't think through policy before they bring it out. He's not getting to the office. The day the Tinubu knows the gift for him. I'm not sure he has studied very well. I'm not sure he had even read through when he went on his inaugural speech and said subsidy
Is gone.
over. Subsidy is gone and gone completely. Those who wrote his speech for him did not put subsidy is gone because they know that there are a lot of things that should have been put in place before you will remove subsidy. So two things are wrong with Tinubu's government. Apart from the fact that he doesn't think through, and then to confirm this statement for those who may want to contend it, there are a lot of policy that Tinubu will bring out, and by the time the people will raise their voice and there is uproar against the policy, they will withdraw it. And some people call it sensitivity. That's not sensitivity. Because in the first instance, you should have felt the impulse of the people before you bring all of that about. That's
Please,
number one.
what policies are these for those who are curious like me to know? Can you give us an example of some of these policies that you probably withdrew due to public outcry?
Let me try to see if I can figure out. But there are all this in the public domain. This is in the public domain. That few things the government had announced, this is what we'll do, and after the public cry, they will go back. I think one has to do with tax, the tax regime before this last one was done, and then another thing has to do with the limit, the age of admission into the age of doing white and all of that. I can remember this few that are current, and a lot more, which all Nigeria will remember as long as I can. Recall some of them back. Right. I'll kind of put it in my discussion.
All right,
but I was saying, I was in an event not quite long. It's an award event, and I was to speak on the effect of subsidy removal on Nigeria economy. But entering the hall, I found out that most people that are there, they were politicians, political appointees, and most of them are my friends. So I was like, I don't want to look as if I want to condemn your government. Let me tell you what I would do differently if I were the one that was confronted with the subsidy removal issues. So they became relaxed. And I began to tell them, and these are the things I said Tinubu government ought to have done. Because sometimes it's not fantastic to always criticize. You also ought to have let people know the alternative that was open to the government if they would think, well, number one, he couldn't have just said the subsidy was over when the supply of fuel was not as the way it ought to be as a day. That's number one. Number two, subsidy wasn't a problem. The fact that the problem was a lot of people that were taking the subsidy money, they didn't actually supply anything. I thought that was what Tinubu should have thought. Then the actual consumption was not correct. So we should now, like he said, the consumption of fuel per liter, petrol per liter in Nigeria dropped drastically the moment they removed subsidy. I thought that's what he would have fought, and maybe he would have allowed alternative refinery like the Dangote and all of this to come to mainstream before he will remove that. That's number one. Number two, that's one aspect. One other thing that the government did not do properly is the fact that you can't run a government of refugees, a government of ostentatious, a government that's kind of you are buying how many billion private jet. The jet that you say is not properly, does not fit, is not serviceable, is one you offer for sale, and people are bidding high money for it. You buy yachts and all of that. The money they used to build the office of the to renovate the office of the vice president.
You have 1 minute.
All right, Mr. Olalere, there's this question I'd like to ask you, which is about. Hello, sir. Are you there?
I'm there.
All right, there's this question I'd like to ask you, talking about the state of the nation. The refinery, the petroleum refinery, which was rehabilitated with several billions of naira, about 825 billion, $2.5 billion. It appears that they are quite non-functioning at this time. So I will have to call you again. And after that, you'd help us have an understanding of what's happening with the refinery. And then we look at the political ADC coalition movement, what hope it has. Do join us again after this break. Back now, we have Mr. Olalere join us again. So help us have an understanding of issues with the NNPC refineries, the Warri, Port Harcourt, and Kaduna refinery, and then the ADC coalition. What's the hope? What's the issue for Nigerians now?
Bayo Ojulari, the new ex-man at the NNPCL, just came up lately and he said they may eventually sell off the refinery after the humongous billions of naira you reel out that has been spent on it. But one of the problems I have with this administration is this their media hype. You know, even when the refinery was not properly fit, they went on the radar everywhere, say, refinery is working, Port Harcourt refinery, Warri refinery, and all of that. And then after that, about 2-3 weeks later, they were announced that it's a shot. I mean, so I think they do more of propaganda than real work, this particular government. So that's the issue with the refinery. And I have, the refinery will definitely be moribund because the technology with which they built it cannot fit into the present kind of technology. And the example I will give is this. I have a kind of printer at home which I have kept in my house for like 8 years or thereabout, or even more. And today, untouched, it has not been used. But today, if I bring it out, there might not be toner for it. It may not be serviceable. So the same thing. And that's the same thing with Ajaokuta.
All right.
The melting pot. So all these facilities were not there, except they want to reconstruct.
All right.
And so that's the issue.
All right. For the ADC coalition, what do you make of it?
For the coalition, I was speaking on a particular program and I said, of course, I'm entitled to my opinion. I said, those who killed, the one that actually shot PDP in the heart wasn't Wike or any other person. It was Atiku Abubakar, by what I feel is an inordinate ambition. If you go back in the history, you'll find out that right from 1999, a PDP who eventually won the election, who was the pride of the nation, they agreed that there will be rotation. So 8 years in the south, 8 years in the north, and all of that. So in the last election, it actually supposed to have been everyone go down south, like they did during Obasanjo, they did during Yar'Adua, they did during Jonathan, and all of that. They did during Buhari. So, but he refused. And he will tell you, like he has also said, let's go to the field, let's be democratic. And I don't know what is democratic in buying votes, in buying the delegates over with hard currency, with hard dollar. So with the same problem, I put on social media something. I said, as it was in 2023, I'm afraid it will be in 2027. So ambition is likely to kill ADC.
All right.
But if they can bury their personal ambition, I think they will give Bola Ahmed Tinubu run for his money.
All right. We are totally out of time now. I just wish for us to have this conversation non-stop, but we need to go now because of our time. Public affairs analyst Mr. Oladoyin has been helping us to have an understanding of some of the things that we need to know as a people. Thank you so much for your time on the show this morning.
It's great. Good job you are doing there. God bless you.
Thank you so much. So let's get to a few reactions. 070-700-7701 or 070-727-66278. Hello, good morning.
Yes, moderator.
Good morning. Your name and where are you calling us from?
Yeah, this is Kennedy, going to the street.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, from Ekiti State here. I personally salute my brother Oladoyin. He's so much good. Almighty God must be with you because you're also a defendant. But I want people to know that the life is limit for all. One day, they will turn up on you. Try whatsoever in your position today to ensure people remember you. If you tell, I love the man over there, he has said a lot, but I want the APC now in Nigeria to stand on their positive ruling to give dividend of democracy to Nigeria.
All right.
People remember Muritala Mohammed. People remember Musa Yar'Adua. And people also will remember Buhari because the 8 years of Buhari in Nigeria, price control, that they did not hide any price. And now, it may be all these problems caused by our people. So we need to support the present administration to take Nigeria to high level, so that this government tries to picture out the looter through EFCC, DSS, and other detective vigilante security in Nigeria.
All right. Thank
Let
you so
us
much.
believe that poverty is the aspect of bad living, and also at times lead to death.
All right. Thank you so much.
Enjoy your help our people.
Amen.
Thank you. God bless you.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. And that's how much we can take on this morning's edition of the follow-up on Adamimogo 107.7 FM. Tomorrow, and a beautiful edition will return, where we'll be talking a bit more on education and some of the reforms and ideas and executions that have been carried out by the federal government. Do join us by then. And to then, my name is Oladoyin Ayegbusi. Good morning and enjoy the rest of the day.